a conversation here. All right. This is so sad. So sad. So a lot is being talked about finally about what's going on in this Iryna Zarutska murder. This man, I don't even want to say, I'm just going to call him this terrible, disgusting of a human being that stabbed this innocent woman in North Carolina back at the end of August. Now we're hearing and we're finding out, this is somewhat breaking news, that there's been new audio released from the killer where he's talking about some of the reasoning why he stabbed Iryna and what was going through his mind. Ugh. I don't want to hear anything about mental health on this one, guys. Unless we're talking about someone who's a repeat offender and has mental health issues needs to be locked up for life, because this never should have happened. And it's absolutely tragic. It's absolutely tragic. Let's hear what he had to say here.
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material using my body to stab the lady.
What? And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they got to investigate the material my body exposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they got to investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and you know they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
That's hey, it ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
So basically, this man is saying it wasn't me. He's saying there was material in my body. I don't know who put it there, how it got there, what it is, but there was something in my body that just made me attack this woman. And one thing led to another. They activated the material in my body and it forced me to stab this poor woman. We're going to hear a lot more from this. Shout out to Colin Rugg with this video, because now we know that they have charged this man with federal charges, and we're going to get into the full charges here shortly, but let's see what they have to say here. Shout out to Colin Rugg for this. He says the family of Iryna Zarutska has declined to have her body returned to the Ukraine. They say she would have wanted to be buried in the U.S. because she loved America. After Iryna's death, the embassy in Ukraine called and said, "We'll help you bring her home." Her family said no. They said she loved America. We're going to bury her here. Wow.
I know this has gotten national attention. I know that there is a lot of thoughts about this case. There's policy decisions being made because of this
There's
case.
No thoughts. We just need
someone
to
who just talked to the family of the victim.
Get rid of this guy.
Remember her, because this is hard for them. It's their case, and we will bring justice here. I want to add one thing that I hope the family won't mind me sharing. But after Iryna's death, the embassy in Ukraine called and said, "We'll help you bring her home." And her family said no. They said she loved America. We're going to bury her here. So I think we can give her an America to be proud of. As Mr. Barnacle said, something here is broken, and we're here to fix it.
Even more tragic, she chose to come to Charlotte to escape the violence of her war-torn home in Ukraine. Iryna had settled into her community. She made friends. She immediately got a job. The first day she was allowed to work, and she got a work permit here, she got a job that very first day.
So sad, man.
She worked at a senior citizens center. She worked at a pizza place. She took care of animals in the neighborhood. She was building her young life. She had recently moved in with her partner. Her family let us know she graduated from college in Kyiv with a degree in art and restoration. We don't know the extent of what obstacles she faced in the Ukraine, other than we did learn just a few moments ago that she was living in a bomb shelter.
Dang.
Sadly, everyone saw in surveillance video how tragic her life ended. We're shocked, we're saddened. It's very, very difficult. This young lady rode that train many times. She was probably tired after a long day at work and just trying to get home to her loved ones, but she never made it. In an instant, her life was over, and her mother, her father, her siblings, her brother and sister, and her other family and friends, their lives will never be the same. As you heard from U.S. Attorney Ferguson, we spoke with Iryna's mother, Anna, and her uncle just a few minutes ago, and we told them of the federal charges brought against DeCarlos Brown Jr.
Wow.
We hope this additional charge will help bring them a measure of justice and accountability for this horrific act.
I hope so too, because we're going to hear from the press secretary coming up. She had a lot to say.
Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder of Iryna Zarutska. Here are the facts that many outlets have shamefully and intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Iryna Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina, by a savage career criminal. This is a public transportation system that many in the area use every single day to go to school and work. Iryna was on the train that night traveling home from her job at a pizzeria, still in uniform from her shift. This beautiful, innocent 23-year-old young woman was a Ukrainian refugee who had recently fled her country for a chance at a safer life and a promising new beginning here in the United States of America. But tragically, a public transportation system in a major American city was more dangerous than the active war zone that she left. The president and the entire White House are praying for her family and friends during this unimaginably difficult time. But while we extend our thoughts and prayers, we must also seek justice for this crime and call attention to this heinous incident. Surveillance video of the killing was finally released to the public this past Friday. It shows the alleged killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., pull out a knife, get up from his seat behind Iryna, and prepare to thrust a blade into her neck before the released footage gets cut. This is pure evil on full display. The most enraging and unacceptable part of this story is that her death was entirely preventable. DeCarlos Brown never should have been on that train that night. In fact, he should have been behind bars.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the judges who made a ruling on his 14 different chances that he got. We'll get into it shortly.
DeCarlos Brown has been charged with crimes no fewer than 14 times, dating back to 2011, including for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. Brown had previously served 5 years in prison for a robbery with a deadly weapon charge, and he had also forfeited bonds 3 different times, twice in 2014 and once in 2023. Despite all of this past documented criminal history, when Brown was arrested yet again in January of this past year, a Democrat judge, who I will add was a strong supporter of former Vice President Kamala Harris, released this insane criminal once again without requiring him to pay any bail. He simply had to sign a written promise to return for his court hearing. Think about how crazy it is to ask a career criminal, someone who by definition repeatedly breaks the law, to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness. This monster should have been locked up, and Iryna should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative. Many of the journalists in this room spilled plenty of ink trying to smear Daniel Penny for defending a subway car from a deranged lunatic in New York City, but none of those same reporters lift a finger to write stories about an actual murderer. Here's the truth that every American must know. Too many innocent people across the country continue to pay the price of the failed experiment known as cashless bail that has been championed by the Democrat Party for years. All the way back in 2020, North Carolina's then Democrat Governor Roy Cooper established a so-called task force for racial equity and criminal justice. Sounds nice, but it's not. That task force was co-authored by then Attorney General and current Democrat Governor Josh Stein. It recommended, quote, reimagining public safety to, quote, promote diversion and other alternatives to arrest. It also advised to de-emphasize some felony crimes, prioritize, quote, restorative justice, and eliminate cash bail. Democrats in North Carolina and nationwide are consumed with pushing a woke, soft-on-crime agenda, no matter how many innocent Americans suffer as a result. Instead of aggressively prosecuting and locking up violent criminals, the Democrat-backed cashless bail approach lets these criminals roam free in our country to offend again and again. These reckless policies have turned too many of American cities into hunting grounds for career criminals who mock our justice system.
Yeah, and again, it's not even a mocking of the justice system. Let's be honest. This is just the justice system being what it is. And we've talked about I don't call it the justice system anymore. We call it the judicial system because there are so many opportunities for improvement here. It's insane because listen to this coming up next. Shout out to the older millennial talking about the judge who made a ruling on this, man. It's going to surprise you guys if you haven't heard this yet.
Did you know the judge that released this guy didn't even go to law school? Yeah. Not even a lawyer. Yeah, these magistrate judges that are making a decision to release these people without bail, yeah, they're not even lawyers. They didn't go to law school. They didn't pass the bar. They just got appointed to be judges. No training required. Oh yeah, and that's the case in states like North Carolina,
Crazy.
South Carolina, West Virginia, Texas, Arizona. They don't even have to be lawyers.
I lived in South
They can
Carolina.
be
I didn't know
judges.
this.
They don't have to go to law school. They don't have to pass the bar. However, they sit in judgment over people who did. How the fuck is this a thing? How the fuck do we have judges who didn't even study the law? Like, how did this ever become a thing? That's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Like, to be somebody's lawyer,
Yeah.
you have to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. Like, just to represent a client, you have to do that. To be able to prosecute that person, you got to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. But to be the judge, to be the person overseeing these lawyers, to be the ultimate arbiter of the law, you don't have to go to law school, you don't have to pass the bar. How is this a fucking thing?
Yeah, and it's it's insane, and it gets even worse.
Today, I would like to address the tragedy that has not received nearly enough media attention, the brutal murder for years. All the way back in 2020, North Carolina's then Democrat Governor Roy Cooper established a so-called task force for racial equity and criminal justice. Sounds nice, but it's not. That task force was co-authored by then Attorney General and current Democrat Governor Josh Stein. It recommended, quote, reimagining public safety to, quote, promote diversion and other alternatives to arrest.
Guys, we got a lot of work we have to do here. So sad to see this innocent life lost. And we're going to get into, I'm going to show the video. YouTube's not going to like it. They're probably going to restrict the video. I'm going to be honest. But I think it's important to see this. I think it's important to have this conversation. I think it's important for my children, for our children to be able to understand what is happening, what's going on, and to be aware of situations they could be in. Because, I mean, this poor girl just riding on the bus, went, sat down, was trying to get home, wasn't conscious of her surroundings. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments and in the chat. And thank y'all for the support too as well. We got 1,300 of y'all that like the video. Please make sure y'all take a second and like the video. Also, some of you are supporting as well. J Money in here dropping the 5 memberships again. If y'all got a membership from J Money, say thank you and type J Money's name in the chat. This is a country with a bunch of judges, with a bunch of judge shows, and none of them are judges at all.